The morning sun cut through the dusty classroom blinds as Mr. Malik Johnson, a black teacher in Atlanta, watched his students unpack their lunches. Laughter filled the air until his eyes caught one small boy quietly placing an old metal lunchbox on the shelf. It looked light, too light. When lunch hour came, that same box sat untouched. No sound, no food, just silence loud enough to break a man's heart. If this already made your blood boil, hit like and subscribe right now, because stories like this are still happening and the world needs to hear them. Mr. Johnson waited until the class emptied. He lifted the lunchbox. The hinges creaked like a whisper of shame. Inside, nothing. No sandwich, no fruit, no crumbs. Just a folded napkin with the words, "I'll be okay." His chest tightened. He looked at the frail boy, Deshaun, pretending to read, eyes heavy with something no child should carry. "Mr." Johnson's voice softened. "Son, where's your lunch?" Deshaun's hand shook. "I ate already, sir." But even that lie sounded hungry. Mr. Johnson motioned for the other children to step outside for recess. When the door closed, silence filled the room like judgment. He placed the empty lunchbox between them. "Deshaun," he said gently, "is there something you want to tell me?" The boy's shoulders tensed. "I told you, sir. I already ate." "Mr." Johnson sat beside him instead of towering over him. "You know, I've been teaching a long time. Lies don't sound like that unless they're protecting something." Deshaun's eyes welled. "Please don't call my mom. She's working. She don't need this right now." "I'm not here to embarrass you, son," Mr. Johnson said softly. "But you can't go hungry every day." "I'm fine," Deshaun murmured, voice trembling. "I just don't like eating around people." A moment passed. Mr. Johnson noticed how the boy's fingers trembled, how his stomach quietly growled between words. "All right," he finally said, "we'll talk later, but promise me you'll eat something today." Deshaun nodded quickly, eager to escape the conversation. As he left for recess, Mr. Johnson's eyes followed him, a small frame swallowed by a world that rarely cared who fell through its cracks. Something deeper was wrong, and he knew he couldn't ignore it any longer. That evening, Mr. Johnson sat in the dim glow of his desk lamp, staring at the phone on his table. He finally dialed the number listed under Deshaun's emergency contact. After a few rings, a tired voice answered. "Hello, MS. Williams? This is Mr. Johnson, Deshaun's teacher. I wanted to ask about his lunches lately." There was a long pause. "His lunches? I packed them every morning. Peanut butter sandwich, fruit and crackers." "Why?" Mr. Johnson's chest tightened. He's been coming to school with an empty lunchbox. Another silence, this one heavier. Her voice cracked. "That boy, he said he was eating at school. I thought everything was fine." "Ms. Williams, I don't think this is your fault. You're working hard, I can tell. But something's happening between home and class." He could hear her sigh, exhaustion and guilt mixing in one breath. "I've been picking up double shifts, Mr. Johnson. Sometimes I barely see them before bed. I guess I miss what's going on." "I understand," he said softly. "Let me look into it. Deshaun's a good kid. There's more here than it looks." As he hung up, the teacher sat in silence, the weight of an unseen struggle pressing on his chest. This wasn't just about hunger anymore. It was about survival. If this happened right in front of you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if you want justice as much as I do, hit subscribe. The next morning, Mr. Johnson arrived early, standing near the school gate. A few minutes later, he spotted Deshaun walking in, holding that same metal lunchbox tight to his chest. But halfway down the block, the boy stopped beside an old fence and quietly handed a small paper bag to two younger kids waiting in the cold. Mr. Johnson's breath caught. He recognized them, Deshaun's little brother and sister. The boy hugged them, whispered something, then continued toward the school as if nothing had happened. When class began, Mr. Johnson called him aside. "Deshaun, why didn't you tell me?" The child's eyes filled instantly. "They're just little, sir. They get hungry first. Mama works nights. Sometimes there's no food till she gets home." The teacher knelt, his own voice cracking. "You've been giving them your lunch every day?" Deshaun nodded slowly. "I can handle being hungry." "They can't." Mr. Johnson placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "You're brave, son, but you don't have to fight this alone anymore." Right then, he promised himself this child would never go hungry again. That same week, Mr. Johnson moved quietly but fast. He spoke to the principal, contacted a local church, and pulled together a discreet plan he called a Hope Box Club, a weekend food program hidden inside regular homework bags so no child would feel ashamed. By Friday, 12 students, including Deshaun, received small boxes filled with snacks, canned goods, and milk cartons, enough to last through the weekend. No announcements, no spotlight, just quiet dignity. At the staff meeting, not everyone approved. Mrs. Reynolds, a white teacher from down the hall, crossed her arms. "We can't just hand out food like charity," she said. "These families need to learn responsibility." Mr. Johnson's jaw tightened. With all due respect, they're already responsible. They're working 2 jobs and still can't feed their kids. That's not irresponsibility, that's poverty. She huffed, muttering, "You're just making them dependent." He looked her dead in the eye. "If feeding hungry children is wrong, I'll stay wrong." Later that day, Deshaun slipped him a folded note. "Thank you for not making me feel small." Mr. Johnson smiled through misty eyes. The Hope Box Club had only just begun, but it was already changing more than hunger. It was restoring pride. Weeks passed, and the change in Deshaun was visible to everyone. His eyes looked brighter. His shoulders no longer slumped in shame. One afternoon, Mr. Johnson noticed him writing furiously in his notebook long after class had ended. "What are you working on?" he asked. Deshaun hesitated, then smiled shyly. "It's a story, sir, about a boy with an empty lunchbox." Mr. Johnson chuckled softly. "Sounds powerful. Keep going." A month later, the district held a creative writing contest, and Deshaun's piece, "The Empty Box," took first place. The award ceremony drew local reporters, teachers, and parents. When Deshaun walked onto stage, he held his mother's trembling hand and began reading his story aloud, voice small but steady. He read about hunger, pride, and a teacher who refused to look away. By the end, the crowd stood in silence before breaking into thunderous applause. A reporter approached Mr. Johnson afterward. "You must be proud. How does it feel to be his hero?" He smiled faintly. "I'm not his hero. He's mine." That night, the story went viral on social media. A tale of dignity, hunger, and hope. But to Mr. Johnson, the real victory wasn't headlines. It was one boy who finally felt seen. The Monday after the ceremony, Deshaun walked into class carrying that same metal lunchbox. But this time, it wasn't empty. Inside was a note. He placed it quietly on Mr. Johnson's desk and sat down. During recess, the teacher opened it. The note read, "You didn't just see my empty box, you saw me." Mr. Johnson's eyes filled. He looked out the window, watching Deshaun laugh with his friends for the first time in months. That small boy who once hid behind silence was now standing taller, confident, smiling, free. When the bell rang, Deshaun came up to his desk. "Sir, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When I grow up, you think I could be a teacher like you?" Mr. Johnson smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You already are, son. You've taught this whole school what real strength looks like." As Deshaun walked out, sunlight hit the empty lunchbox on the desk. No longer a symbol of hunger, but hope. If you believe this should never happen again, share this now. And to my USA, UK, and Canadian viewers, your voice is power. Use it.